I, male 30, spent a month in Germany when I was 22. There I'd hooked up with a woman, Sia, female 35 now. It was very casual and we used protection. Around 2 weeks back she found me on Instagram. I only took up Insta very recently and told me we had a son. She couldn't let me know earlier because she didn't know my mail ID, I didn't use any social media platform and my number wasn't active. I can't use that phone connection in my country. She wants me to meet him and be a father. Thing is, I have a family here. I got married around 5 years back and have 2 children. I can't just get up and leave. I love my wife very much and she would be heartbroken if she gets to know this. I can lose my family over this. I told Sia I cannot be there for them. I don't know her kid. I don't even know if the kid is mine even. While timeline checks out, we weren't in a relationship or exclusive, just a couple of casual hookups. I cannot lose my family and life I've built over a kid that may or may not be mine. She got furious. Text began in all caps telling me I had a responsibility to my child. I don't deny it, but I have a responsibility to my children here as well, the ones who know me as dad. I cannot choose her kid over my kids here. She called me an absolute idiot and moron. Dude, you have to tell your wife, this is a human that cannot be kept a secret. It will come out. You need to get ahead of this before one day he shows up at your door wanting to know why you denied his existence. Talk to your wife, get a paternity test and then decide together how involved you are, be it just financial or emotional, etc. as well. You can't keep your head in the sand. You are the idiot if you do nothing about this. If he's your kid, you're responsible for every child you create, not just the ones you want to acknowledge. To add, if the kid is pre-tween, then he's probably starting to ask about his father, which is why the contact is being made now, or she's scamming you. Only one way to find out. Imagine if your wife found out from another person that you knew and hid it from her. Oh boy. Talk to your wife, OP. Decide how to proceed as a team. I wouldn't be upset with my husband for potentially fathering a child and not knowing about it, at a time we weren't even together no less. I might be upset about the situation, but any reasonable person can figure out how to separate the two. What I would consider divorce over is if he hid this kind of information from me, because the lack of honesty and transparency would make one wonder if they're getting the whole story or not. You are the idiot for taking a head-in-the-sand approach, not for wanting to lose your existing family. Come on man, there's something dirty in the water here. If this hookup or fling happened before you met your wife, you're okay, provided you tell her straight away. The only way this would possibly ruin anything you have here is if you were cheating on your wife while you were dating her. There's no reason for you to think otherwise. You're leaving out some important details in your story, but it's not making you look much better. You want to venture into deadbeat territory regarding this child, and you're looking to internet strangers to tell you what? That it's okay for you to be a possible deadbeat to a kid who could possibly be yours? You should at the very least take the DNA test. Update: am I the idiot for choosing my family over a kid I may have accidentally fathered? I messaged Sia about the possibility of a paternity test. She asked me to go to Germany to see my son before I questioned it. I told her that wasn't possible. I could only do it via an online agency, the kind that sends kits to both parties. She started saying how cumbersome the procedure was and that if I just saw my son I would change my mind. I stood firm in that and she said she would do as necessary. She promised to share her number and address. All convo till now was via Instagram, but then blocked me. I made a new account to find her, but when I messaged her about why she blocked me, she blocked that account too. I told my wife about this and showed her the chat. It was scary to watch her. She asked how sure I was this kid wasn't mine. I told her the same as I told you here, that I'd used condoms, Sia was supposedly on the pill, and we were not exclusive. We hooked up only twice. While the timeline checks out, like around 9 months, it can also totally be possible it's not mine. I showed her the chats. My wife used her account to check Sia's account, but that account was deactivated. At this point, my wife is taking my word at it. She's upset and had words with me over my stupid behaviour and having intimacy before marriage. I agree, it was so stupid. I wish I could go back in time and just abstain. There are a lot of tears, anger and apologies. For now, it's on the back burner. Unless Sia contacts me again, we've decided to forget this and move on. For all we know, she was just trying to find a guy to be her kid's dad, and the kid is not even mine. The fact she blocked my account and deleted her account, it had something like 60 posts too, of what I don't know since the account was private and I wasn't following her, seems to show she might have been baiting. I don't know at this point. My wife calmed down and I think she forgave me. So thank you for your replies. I'll let you know if Sia ever contacts me again. After reading your update, I'm wondering about everything Sia told you about the child. For some reason, she wanted you to go to Germany, even to have a paternity test done there. When you said it wasn't possible but could do the test online, she went no contact. I find this whole situation puzzling from her end. I don't know what she's up to, but I wouldn't believe her. You are the idiot. To be honest, you sound pretty awful. Rather than being eager to confirm paternity and then living up to your obligations if the kid is yours, you seem more interested in disavowing the child so your cushy life isn't inconvenienced. A decent man's first priority would be to get tested and confirm paternity so you know exactly what you're dealing with before deciding on the next steps. If this child is yours, you should be ready and willing to step up and provide the support your son deserves. There's no reason why another kid's reality must destroy your life and family. For the sake of this innocent child, you should stop being sleazy and take the necessary steps to determine whether or not this is your kid. LMAO. I wouldn't even entertain the idea of doing a DNA test. I would block her and all her future accounts. Due to the simple fact that she made all these claims and then blocked you on everything without giving you her number, she sounds like a desperate lady who was scamming for money. I wouldn't worry about it at this point. You offered a test and she refused, so that's on her. Focus on your family and have a good life, my dude. My sister Chelsea has 2 children, a toddler and an infant, and last month she and her husband decided to go on a holiday to Europe before they'd have to buy a seat for the kids. She said the kids were terrible flyers and cried the whole way on both trips. We're from Australia and wouldn't settle down. She's made a lot of passive-aggressive posts on social media about how entitled non-parents are about kids on planes and how people need to have more sympathy for mums because they're suffering more than they are because their babies won't settle and being a parent is hard. She's been kinda whiny in general since she became a mum, always complaining about how hard it is, and she makes a lot of snide comments to me about how it must be nice that I sleep in, etc. because I've chosen not to have kids. The plane situation came up when I saw her last night. She started talking about it again and I asked her if something specific happened or if someone was rude to her about the kids, and she admitted that they weren't really. People just looked visibly annoyed as the kids refused to settle, and on one of the flights, the person next to her asked the flight attendant if there was anywhere else she could sit after a couple of hours and looked disappointed when told there wasn't as the flight was full. She also said they were rude because none offered to help or give her reassuring smiles and comments. I said that people have the right to be annoyed at a baby crying the whole way from Melbourne to Singapore on a flight that leaves at 1 a.m. and lands at like 9 a.m. and she went off saying that they don't and her kids have a right to fly. I told her I never said they didn't, just that people have the right not to be thrilled to be seated next to her infant who cries the whole way, and that they don't have to feel more sorry for her than themselves because she is responsible for bringing the kids onto the plane and created the situation. I also said that no one but her and her husband are obligated to look after their children on a flight, and it isn't fair to expect the people around her to help with them. She stormed out and complained to my parents, who backed me up, but her other sister started dogpiling me too, so I just went home. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, OP. She does sound majorly entitled. People are allowed to feel annoyed and they aren't there to pat her on the head. Strangers do not exist to accommodate her. Having to care for your kids on a flight can be very stressful, but expecting others to help is just mind-blowing to me. LOL, imagine complaining because you're a parent of 2 kids under 2 and can afford a trip from flipping Australia to Europe and think people should have sympathy for you. Disclaimer, I am a mum of a 10-month-old. There are plenty of times I have sympathy for parents. During their round-the-world trip is not one of them. If people were saying nasty things to her, that would be one thing. No one is happy in the situation of a screaming baby on a plane, and I would feel sympathy for the mom if people were insulting her in some way. But an annoyed look? She has some nerve to talk about entitlement when she's acting like the world owes her anything for having kids. If I spend my money and book a flight, I expect luxury and comfort. Screaming kids is the last thing on my need on a plane list. Back when my son was a preschooler, he had extreme behavioral issues. His doctor started making arrangements for an evaluation, but ultimately he ended up retiring before anything was pushed through, and my son was given a new doctor in the practice. The new doctor was fresh out of college and was so dismissive. She met with my son once, went over his charts, and point blank told me my son was acting like that because of me. I spent the entire 30-minute appointment telling me how to parent my kid and what I was doing wrong, telling me that I lacked consistency, that I needed to learn discipline, that he only acted like that because I didn't have a backbone, and she wasn't even nice about it either. Like every time I would mention any behavior my son had, I was met with a smirk or an eye roll and yeah, he does that because you're young and don't know what you're doing. Children aren't playthings. This is what happens when babies have babies. I was 24. To make matters worse, my son was her first ever patient. She'd just gone out of college and was shadowing up until then. I even brought up that my son started having breathing problems, and she told me it was behavioral and that he was only acting like he was having breathing issues to get his way, because he would hold his breath and start screaming and hyperventilating. I left that appointment crying, complained, and switched doctors before leaving the office. Well, the doctor they switched my son to was great. They did the evaluation like his original doctor wanted, and it was determined that he had ODD and gave me resources to manage it. Not only that, but they also diagnosed him with asthma after checking his O2 and it being 84. He was later diagnosed with ADHD. Well, this doctor just switched practices, and now there are only 2 doctors in this pediatrics office. One is the one I filed a complaint about years ago. The front desk tried switching my son back to being under this doctor's care, and I refused. I don't want her anywhere near my kid, or me, but the other doctor is slammed with patients, so they called me in for a meeting, and the doctor I filed the complaint about apologized and asked me to let go of the past and that she's more educated now and feels she should be forgiven, especially where it was over something small. I stood my ground, however, and told her she wasn't welcome near me or my child, and due to this, I've overwhelmed the other doctor who already has a lot of patients. My husband thinks I'm an idiot for not giving this doctor a chance, but I don't feel she deserves one, after proving that she's just a dismissive person in general. That one doctor is slammed while she has vacancies suggests you're not the only parent she angered. Don't let them blame you for her crappy bedside manner and pressure you into seeing someone who is still dismissing your concerns. Not the idiot. A doctor told a friend of mine that her young daughter was faking leg pain for attention. It turned out the kid had a bone disease, Perthes disease. Trust your gut. How on earth are you supposed to trust that doctor when they failed you so miserably? Being a doctor straight out of school is no excuse. Did she apologize 4 years ago? Did she make up to you at all during the last few years? That would show growth. As it stands, they're making excuses. Is this the only pediatric practice in your town? I would consider switching if at all possible, since it looks like your current pediatric establishment doesn't have your child's best interest at heart. They're more concerned with their doctors than cleaning up the mess this first doctor caused. How you know she hadn't grown or learned as a doctoress that she was still dismissive and called her mistake small when it was clearly not small and definitely not small to OP? If you're making amends, you demonstrate it by being knowledgeable about the case and where you went wrong. Being dismissive of the past is just another demonstration of this doctor's overall attitude toward patients' concerns. OP, it might be time to look for a new doctor's office. My 27 male girlfriend is 22 and we've been dating for 2 years. Call her Immy. Our relationship is great, we rarely argue, and even then we solve that by talking. We're currently expecting a baby and we're 5 months along. Immy loves salt. It's a fact everyone knows about her. She'll always try the food before adding salt and has always admitted she adds an ungodly amount. Pizza, noodles, pasta, you name it, and she'll add salt. We went to my sister's place because she cooked a meal to celebrate the pregnancy. As usual, Immy tried the meal and added an unhealthy amount of salt. Well, my sister lost her crap, and I told her I didn't know why it surprised her when we had a meal twice a month together. My sister and parents expected me to apologize on behalf of my girlfriend, or for her to apologize. I refused, and now it's causing aggravation in the family. They're not worried about her health, they're just upset she seasoned the food to her liking. They're refusing to host any more meals until one of us apologizes. Immy wants to apologize, but I told her no, so now she's upset I'm dragging it out. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but I would have her calcium and magnesium levels checked. These can make you crave sweets and salt. Especially being pregnant, she may be having more mineral deficiencies. If she's medically okay and her blood pressure is good, then she's not in any harm and just likes things the way she does. Adults shouldn't try to control other adults' non-harmful eating habits. Raise concerns if you think they're in danger, otherwise shut up about people liking things you don't. I've been salt crazy since I was a kid. My parents got me my own personal salt shaker, and I also have low blood pressure and I drink a ton of water because I just like it. If I didn't consume the salt, my body chemistry would be out of whack and my blood pressure would become a problem. Some people are just built to need it. OP, your sister can stuff it and stop controlling people's preferences. To be honest, it's a not the idiot for refusing to apologize for your girlfriend. The whole thing feels like your sister was hypersensitive to anything that might be construed as criticism. However, OP, where I think you are the idiot is in refusing to let your girlfriend apologize. Maybe you think them getting mad is ridiculous, but your girlfriend wants to apologize. Let her, and if this happens again, then you can skip to more extreme measures.